speakers have identified, over the last about 3 years or so, 4 years, we worked on developing a Tsunami Ready program for the area of in essence, Mullins all the way up to Sherman's as a community-led initiative with the Department of Emergency Management. And while we were very keen on understanding how the process worked, we never realized it was then going to fall to us to now be taking this to the next level. I think that the concept of mapping is difficult for some communities to understand. And what we're trying to do through this process is make the communities that constitute Holetown and the areas of St Matthias to Rendezvous more accessible to the technology and the understanding of the communities in which they live, work, and eventually will operate, especially as DEO community leaders for those two areas. To do the mapping requires extensive work in terms of setting the foundation. So for us, fortunately through the Coastal Risk Assessment and Management Program, we were able to use light imaging and radar, which is what's called LiDAR, to fly the island to get a 3D image of what the island looks like in terms of its topography or land shape, and also similarly for the near shore, to look at the seafloor contours in the area and do some ecosystem characterization. Using both of those bits and pieces of information, we were then able to pass that information on to the NOAA team that is working on the Tsunami Ready modeling for us to help try to generate the points of origins as to where potential tsunamis could come from, and take a worst case scenario based on historic information that we have, and then run the waves onto the shoreline and then identify those areas that are at greatest risk. This process is still ongoing, but it's going to be highly useful, especially as we roll out this program now for the two communities that we've identified, because we've always known that Holetown is a low-lying area that is prone to flooding, especially during periods of swell events, both hurricane waves and storm waves and winter swell waves. So we figured, as Krista has rightfully pointed out in the past, using this sort of information, we can get an idea as to where potential storm surge, inundation, or flooding can occur from the sea on land. This information is then passed on to the community organizations for them to take to the communities and roll out, for them to go and actually get a better appreciation as to the potential locations where worst flooding will take place, talk with the communities in those areas to identify the best routes for evacuation, using local knowledge primarily, as well as mapping that would obviously be provided from aerial photography and generalized mapping that would exist. And then in that way, we get a better appreciation as to the best locations to put signage, and also points where persons can congregate that would be outside the potential tsunami flood zone.